Okay, for this lecture, I'm going to be working on a head turn. So my recommendation when you're starting a head turn is to do some gesture drawings first. It can be inside of Harmony, it can be in another software, it can be on paper, but get comfortable with drawing your character and figuring out where you want your head turn to start and where you want it to end. So I did the gestures for his head turn in a different software and imported it inside. If you ever need to import anything, you can do that by going to File, Import Images, or if it was a video, so say you're using a different animation software or a storyboarding software, you can import the video under Movie, and it'll import it as separate frames. So I have this part, this starting point, and this ending point. So I at least know where I want to start and end. Now, these are rough gestures, so they're not perfect. I think his his jawline's a bit longer here. He's got a longer chin here and a shorter chin here. So, also I believe his body is a little different in each one. So, just using these as a rough reference um, starting point, or you could try to start drawing the head straight on inside of Harmony. So, I'm going to create a new layer, and I wouldn't do a head turn with everything at once. That would not be recommended. I would do the head shape first. No bangs, no eyes, maybe the nose and ears because they can be a good indication of where the head is turned. I call them anchoring points. So I'm going to do head, add and close. And I have this little light bulb on, which means that whenever I'm on a different drawing layer, any layer that's not the drawing layer will be lightened, which is good. And I'm going to sketch on top of I'm going to sketch on top of this, and whichever drawing I follow more closely, if they're not both exactly right, will depend on which one's more on model. So he looks a bit more on model in the first one, so I just need to adjust it here, bring his chin down. And I'm going to trace over the top of his head as if he were bald. I will add his ears because they're not floppy ears. If they were like pointed ears, like cat ears or dog ears, or anything that would drag or have any kind of reaction, or maybe like elf ears, if the elf ears were going to be moving, flop around, or otherwise respond to the head turning, then I would leave them off. But human ears usually don't have much floppiness to them, so I'll include the ears and I'll include the nose. Okay, and not any other part of the head. Let's see, does that look right? Yeah, that's probably, let's make the head a little thinner. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to move this to frame 1 because I had started it on frame 2. Now I'm going to go to frame 35. And you don't have to have it start or end at this point. I'm actually planning to have him start like this, stay that way for a little while, and then do the head turn. And it doesn't matter if you start the head turn angled up, angled down, looking left, looking right. It's just starting at one place and ending at another. Okay, I think that's all right. I'm not going to worry about the neck right now. Okay. Let's make this nose a little wider. Okay. So there we go. We have the first position and the last position. And how long a head turn takes kind of depends on how quick the action is meant to be. Let's do, if this is at 34, no, 35. Let's get it started. Let's start it at 13, but we may not have the head turn take as long as that. Okay, so if that's when the head's going to start turning, we're going to want to have a middle position. Just like you would in a pendulum, it would be helpful to have the middle position before we start animating the in-betweens. You can go straight ahead. Again, you just got to be a little careful. It can be, I find, a little easier if you do it by the middle position and then adding the in-betweens. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I'm going to make this expand one more, just so that they're even on both sides. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, this was right in the middle. And I'm going to turn on onion skinning so you can see both. I'm going to make the body disappear by turning off cane gestures. And I'm going to insert an empty drawing. Okay, so for the in-between, one thing you do not want to do with a head turn is you don't want to start off looking one way. Let's turn off onion skin for a second. You don't want to start a head looking this way. Let's say head turning eventually turns the other way, and then have the head just the middle position be just a rotation of the features revolving around the face like a globe, like a spinning globe. We don't want to do that. It's very mechanical and odd. It doesn't feel natural. It's sort of an unnatural way of doing a head turn. You want to have some kind of arc to it. So you can have the head arc down. So maybe the head aim down a little bit. It doesn't have to be dramatic as this, but you can have some kind of arc. I wouldn't recommend doing it in a complete straight line where there's the middle. It's going to feel mechanical. So, and you can arc the head up or you can arc it down. Usually down tends to be a little bit more natural, so let's try it. That might be a little much. Okay, so angling the head down. Okay. And let's just check and make sure we have the head size about right. It's okay if there's more forehead or top of the head showing if the face is angled down. Okay, that actually looks all right. Maybe not tilted as much. There we go. So I am going to play this just to see what it looks like. Okay, looks okay. Let's undo. Okay, so when you're doing your in-betweens for a head turn, you're going to want to in-between it like we did with a pendulum, or like you would do with a pendulum. So the middle of the head turn is typically going to be the quickest part. The ends, so the beginning of the head turn and the end of the head turn are usually going to be the slowest part. We're going to have easing. So the way you'd in between that would be similar to a pendulum. We can step back one and do an in between that's directly between this frame and this one. Okay. Okay. We'll try this on ones, and then if needed, we can move it to on twos. So step back. And in between the frame that I had just done and the original pose for the head turn. Okay. Step back again. Oh, would help to add the ears. I think I might have the ears sticking out too much in the original drawing. You know, there's more movement in that ear than there is in the frames like the nose and this ear. So as we get closer to the original position, first position, you may notice that it starts to become barely any change at all. The biggest change is usually going to be in the middle of the head swing. And just a reminder, this was called easing. So we're easing out of this first position. Okay. All right. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we'll see how that looks. We might need more in-betweens. Okay, same thing here. We may not need as many in-betweens as 10. But we'll see. Actually, do you see his ear in this one? Yes, you do. Okay. 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 Jaw's a little thin here. Okay, and let's see how that looks. And shave the back down a little bit. Okay. And I'm just adding a little bit of lines for the bottom of the chin just to make him look like he's tilting his head up a little bit. That can be made consistent with showing the underside of the nose, a little bit of the inside of the chin. Okay. So there's a pause. And he turns his head and then he pauses again. Okay, just bringing the top of his head down just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so once you have a head turn you're pretty happy with, you can start adding some of the facial features. We're going to use that for the next uh, lecture.